Hello again, friends. Today I just wanted to offer up a simple praise of the crude, or a caution against sophistication. It's a very simple idea. There are many, many, many pleasures in life, some of which are very easy to appreciate, and some of which are more challenging to appreciate. They require a little bit more investment to understand the subtleties on offer. And there's a tendency among people, when they have made that investment, to sneer at simple pleasures. So, example of that, when I was a young fellow, I got really into tea. Who knows? There's a Chinese tea shop somewhat near my house, and it's run by this fabulous guy who's got one of those sort of great American stories. He's Chinese by way of Hawaii. So he's like a surfer dude, and he moved to Shanghai at some point and ended up in the cell phone industry and was selling cell phones to sort of the new middle class in China in the early 2000s, and met a lovely gal there whose family was in the split. One side of her family were in the tea business. They're tea growers in China. And the other side of her family lived in the United States here in San Francisco and were in the restaurant business. And they thought, hey, okay, why don't we move back to the States, get married, and we can go into the tea business. So this guy was running a Chinese tea shop, but in a very American style that made it very accessible to outsiders. My experience has been that, if you go to a Chinese tea shop in Chinatown in San Francisco, it's not necessarily the most inviting environment for sort of folks outside of that community, just because there are enough cultural differences that there's like friction, right? So this fellow was able to offer a very, very American experience of Chinese tea culture, and that was super rad for me as a young person in college. It's like, oh, this is super cool. Get to learn all this insider information about the various tea growing regions and the process by which the tea is cultivated and processed and turned into green tea versus white tea versus oolong versus pu'er versus black tea. So I was sold. I got way into it. I got to the point where I was spending $100 or more a month on different teas and whatnot, and I had like 15 different nice teas that I kept stocked at my house at all times. And people would come over, I would, lay out a nice tea spread for them, or if folks were coming from out of town, I'd take them down to the shop and let them have the full tour experience. It was great. It was really fun. But there was the impulse there, having invested so much time into learning about tea, the ways that it's cultivated, where it's coming from, and how to appreciate, different subtleties and nuances of the tea, how to notice how the flavor profile of like a nice oolong is changing over subsequent infusions as the leaves are unfolding and different sort of flavor molecules are being made available to enter into the water. It's really easy from there to turn your nose up at a bag of Twinings tea. It's just run-of-the-mill bagged stuff. It's diced up real fine. A ton of the flavor molecules have evaporated off because there's too much surface area exposed, yada, yada, yada. But you know what? As I got older, what I discovered was tea's real good. And Twinings tea, that's real good. It's way better than water. So, cutting myself off from something that is good, because I know that something that is better exists. I know that I could be having some wonderful, sublime experience. Doesn't really serve me, because ultimately, I can't drink amazing tea every day. I'm broke. And I'm not willing to do the things that one would have to do in one's life to be able to have a huge tea budget. When you're living on student loans and that's your only major expenditure, it's a lot easier to have a serious tea habit than when you're paying all of your own bills and you don't want to work that much. So it served me, I found, to, while maintaining an appreciation for nice teas and being able to break them out on special occasions or just when I happen to feel like it and really savor and enjoy that, be able to, on a day-to-day basis, just drink whatever tea is available and appreciate the simple pleasures offered. It's not the best thing in the world, but it certainly improves my life experience to be able to enjoy that. In a similar vein, I watched a special once called, what was that called? Talking Funny, I think. It was an HBO series. They had a bunch of comedians together discussing the art and craft of comedy, the actual, execution and creation of jokes. But they were talking for a moment about the experience of comedy, and somebody said something that stuck with me more than who actually said it. Now that I think about it, I don't know who said it, but they were discussing sort of simple humor, and they said, well, you don't have to be a genius to make a fart joke, but you'd be stupid not to laugh at it. And I felt like that was sort of right on the sort of attitude that one should carry to all the pleasures of life. That whenever there is an opportunity for joy, right, whenever there's an opportunity for celebration or laughter or merriment, one should take advantage of it. And it doesn't matter if it's an unsophisticated opportunity or if it's a sort of a low-hanging fruit. The fact that you didn't have to work for this joy doesn't make it any less joyous, unless you allow an attitude to take root that cuts you off from these sorts of opportunities. Because simple opportunities for joy come up so much more frequently than the subtle, sophisticated opportunities. So we should open ourselves up to all possible avenues to joy. And when the sophisticated ones come up, yes, absolutely, do the work to appreciate them. That is a delight. And it's one of the sort of the finer expressions of our humanity, is to be able to find the small, the subtle, the quiet places in our experience that open up these possibilities for us. But the loud and the brash can be pretty fun too. So we should be fully available to all of them and celebrate the crude opportunities for happiness as well as the sophisticated.